everybody. It is August 24th, 2020. Welcome to the Fifth Avenue podcast presented by the Fifth Avenue Cinema, Oregon's only student-run cinema, coming to you somewhat live from the safety of our homes. Hand sanitizer is on deck, giving you the latest in all things cinema and everything cinema-related. This buttery voice you're listening to belongs to me. My name is Tracy. Projectionist still, I promise, and currently host of this podcast. My shout out this week is to my girlfriend, my love, Ella Ray over here, trying to act shy. Her birthday is tomorrow, and she is turning a cool 24 on us. Big Virgo energy up in this piece. I want to give her a shout out. Hopefully she listens to this, but she's already here to listen to me right now. Yeah, I want to shout out to her. I'm act like you're not right here. I love you, and I hope that your birthday was really good.
Aww.
That's cute. This is Maddie, current cinema coordinator. And I also have to shout out a Virgo, to Ruby. If you are actually listening to this, I love you, and I was glad to get to FaceTime and talk shit for 2 hours while playing Animal Crossing, because I didn't know I needed that today, but that really made the day that much better.
Damn. Shout out to Animal Crossing bringing people together.
Mm-hmm.
This is Owen, the publicity coordinator, and my shout out... Oh shit. I don't know if you guys have seen this video. It's a YouTube video, and it's their favorite verse of all time, Big Boy. And it's basically a video of him for 5 minutes shouting out Kate Bush, expressing his love. I found that video the other day, and it's great. Yes.
I've never seen that video.
He broke down a song of hers bar by bar, and it was amazing.
So good.
Because I love me some Kate Bush. So
I love Kate Bush. I was like, I need to find this video.
Send me the vid.
Send the link.
Let's go.
Okay.
Link in the chat, please.
And this is Nayeli, podcast editor. My shout out goes to Art Prof on YouTube, which is these art professors started to just upload videos on YouTube, like teaching for free. And they do a bunch of live streams, and it's teaching tips, art tips. And I'm like, yo, this is awesome. I'm learning a lot.
Hell yeah.
So shout out to them, because I'm learning a lot.
I think I might have psychological problems.
Oh, good. That clears things up. Thanks.
Oh, it's hard to explain. I've been running for a long time now.
Running? We were special together. That's what I thought.
Yeah, I agree. But things kind of shifted.
Just completely suddenly. I was so pissed at you. I was so fucking hurt.
So both of the movies that we're going to be discussing in this, I chose. They're both stop motion animated movies. ANOMALISA, I was the only one who had seen it beforehand, before bringing it up, and I saw it in high school because one of my friends suggested this movie, and as always, me and my other friends went in blind. We were just trusting our friend because in general he had pretty good taste. And so, yeah, we watched this, and at the time I was just like, oh, that was a sad movie. Since then I had completely forgotten most of what it was about, and so it was very interesting rewatching it a few days ago. I completely forgot about the sex scene, so just heads up, puppet sex.
Major spoilers.
Yeah, spoilers.
Oh, spoiler alert! Puppet sex.
Yeah, and so I really like stop motion. I think it's such a animation in general is so intense, and I had thought, I think every art kid for a month is I'm gonna do animation, and I totally was that until I realized I do not want to have to draw the same thing over and over again. And stop motion is a little different in that you're not drawing everything, but you're moving objects. which can be clay or it can be 3D printed, like in Anomalisa.
Or even 2D, like collaging. Like I think of the most recent Run the Jewels lyric video that came out that was all like collage stop motion. Like I feel like that's an underrated commentary on stop motion, just personally, where it's like this is both 3D but also like that shit takes so much fucking patience. Like I remember having to do stop motion thing with just like flat 2D pieces of paper, and I was like, what do you mean I've only filmed 5 seconds? I've been doing this for 2 hours.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's really intense, and I mean, like all storytelling is you have to world build, right? But I think there are certain mediums or certain stories that require a lot more world building, and as a medium, stop motion has that like to the max, and even more so movies like Coraline that are more whimsical and non-realistic, whereas Anomalisa was more realistic. I think it's also very interesting because a lot of the time when we think about stop motion or when we think about animation, we think about something for children, and Anomalisa is definitely not that. Anomalisa is, I don't know who's it for, honestly.
It's a very adult movie, and not in the way of explicitness, but it's like it's a very adult movie. It's dealing with adult themes and adult feelings. Granted, I think the feeling of depression or just being in a certain area of a rut kind of transcends age. I feel like kids do feel these feelings, just they rarely have the vocabulary for it. But the problems and the issues, which are like synonyms, but in Anomalisa, I feel like are very adult. Like it's a grown man, probably middle-aged, having trouble with just dealing with what his life has become, and I think that's that's a very adult theme, like having that like regret or the feeling of just the sameness of life. It feels like it's granted, like I said before, I feel like kids feel it too, but it's a very adult thing. And Amelisa is interesting. I'm sorry, what was that? Someone's gonna say something.
Oh, right. Well, I was gonna say it's also like very like nuanced in the sense that like I feel like for the most part you're supposed to sympathize with the main character, but then you also kind of realize that he's like a shitty person and also is using, I mean, personally, the way that I see it, I feel like he takes advantage of Lisa because he is a man in power, he is like Lisa.
He's like a figure to her.
Mm-hmm.
He holds the power because of the hierarchy in their dynamic, and I feel like something that made me like kind of feel better about the way that was going is like when he realized that, and then is like the weird "can I kiss your face where you're hurt," etc., and her being like, you are pervert, some kind of weird chubby chaser thing. This is weird. I shouldn't have said yes. And I'm like, okay, I'm glad that you like don't hate yourself so much that you're just gonna be like, yep, idol, I worship you, do whatever. Like, I'm glad that they show those elements of like how power can kind of distort how you're gonna interact with someone, because you might not realize, like, I know personally people don't always talk about like the followers that idols and like celebrities have being like ready to do anything for them for their attention, and she definitely like in that moment was like, wait, this is weird, this is funky, what's going on? Like
I just realized we didn't do like a basic premise, so
well, because we kind of just let you rock, because you kind of just took off.
Yeah, sorry, I am awful at remembering things.
It's all good. I mean, hey, either we can stitch it or we can just let it rock. But Anomalisa, which came out in 2015, is a film directed by the writer Charlie Kaufman and Duke Johnson. It's written by Charlie Kaufman, and if anybody listening has seen any movie written by Charlie Kaufman, you know, going into this, that it was going to be either one, sad, or two, in some ways beautiful, or a combination of both. And I think this movie falls right into the Kaufman cinematic universe, where it follows a middle-aged man who is I believe, it's not really like said, but like he's an accomplished like author of a self-help book for people working in customer service, and the movie follows him going to Cincinnati for just one day for a conference where he's giving a speech, and how after meeting this woman who he was drawn to by her voice, how that complicates a lot of the things that are going on around him and within him.
Can I just say also, he literally hears this voice of like Lisa, who becomes the pun name of like ANOMALISA because she's an anomaly. Like, he hears the voice and is like, where are my pants? Like, he has to go figure out who this voice is attached to. And I'm like, in that moment, I will say that I out loud said, how horny are you? Like, I was just like, this is...
Very, very much.
Yeah.
That is very interesting because I didn't immediately catch that. I mean, like, for me, at least in the beginning, it was always more just about the fact that she has a different voice because...
Yes.
Right. In this movie, all of the characters besides the main character and Lisa have the exact same voice. It's the same voice actor. And they also all have, like, the same face, the same puppet face. And so for me, I was like... I thought it was like at first the voice and then realizing, oh, this is lady who looks up to me. Maybe I'll kiss her, you know?
I think it was very much so about the outlier that is Lisa and her voice, because even though, like, you know, prior to the pod, Maddie sent like the credits that I didn't know about, or of like who had worked on the movie acting wise, and how it was Jennifer Jason Leigh, the guy that plays Michael, David Thewlis, and Tom Newman, who voices everyone else. And I saw that, thought it was funny, and like I didn't brush it off. I kind of was like, oh yeah, that's funny. But then like after a while, I was like, wait, what? Because I didn't know anything about the movie. Like, I knew about the movie, but I didn't know the inner workings of it all. So when watching it, I was already waiting for that, and then I realized that very early on that, like, okay, everyone else has the same voice, so this must be some type of commentary on homogeneity, almost like a hive mind situation. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until the Lisa part where I was like, because I was waiting the whole time. I was like, where's Jennifer Jason Leigh? I was like, well, I know she's gonna pop up in some way, and I thought she was gonna be the first woman ever introduced to Bella, because she's talked about often. But Bella has the same voice as everyone else, which I think, and this is jumping a little bit ahead, but I think that she was Elisa to him at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And because when you're introduced to her, I think it comes after he calls home and talks to his wife, or before. I'm not sure.
It comes after.
Which makes the Lisa situation even make more sense. And because they talk about the affair that they had, but they talk about it in ways that's kind of like they go around it but then come to it at the end, where she says, like, we were magic together, we did this, we did that. Like, he kind of just up and left. And then you find parallels to that towards the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Also, I'm jumping ahead, but yeah. So like, it's to Naomi's point. I saw the jumping towards the voice as like another instance to where he's finding someone that's different, that is similar to him, that isn't, like everyone else.
I will say I honestly did not notice the same voice actor thing until the scene of Lisa having the double voice with the like
Oh.
male voice.
Whoa.
Okay, Nayeli, you laugh. Everyone goes, whoa, and I'm like, I'm not that observant, fuckers. Okay, but when they
It's a
started,
movie, though.
He's a movie
listen, I will.
You gotta observe it.
I will be frank in this podcast and say I was like very nervous about the puppet sex that I had been warned about, just because like I watched this at 8 a.m. like first thing as I got up, and I was like, I don't really want to be involved in this.
You don't want to watch puppet sex at 8 a.m.?
No, not really. Like,
What
I
else
mean,
would you be doing?
eating, like being a normal human being.
I guess.
But
dude.
anyways, the doubling of the voice, for me, what caught it, which like I feel like the character of Michael also recognizes it when she's like, we could go to the zoo. You don't need more than a day to do the zoo. And I'm like, oh, the taxi driver said that. Hey, that's the same voice. And that's when I looked at the credits and I was like, huh. And then I noticed it for the rest of the movie. So, I mean, that took me a minute.
She's also the only one with a different face.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she has a different face. I mean, granted, like everyone has different-esque hair, but like she has a swoop bang though, you know, swoop bang to the side, little bang, and it covers. And she also has a scar, which I think is interesting. That the scar is also part of the fact that she is not like everyone else, because aside from having a different face, she also has like,
an
a physical.
anomaly.
Some would say.
Someone say
and-
it's wordplay.
Yeah. Like she's an anomaly. She's Lisa and she's ANOMALISA. Sounds like a very terrible 80s sitcom that I would definitely binge watch if given
100%.
the opportunity. Yeah, like I mainly, like, when the Bella situation happened in the beginning, I was just really confused as to what happened. Granted, they give very good bones of this of the relationship out, where it's like he left, she thought everything was solid. Now it's been like years. She's pissed about it. And he's like being a dick about it and being weirdly like trying to like re-stitch the relationship in a way. You know, he has like a whole ass wife and a kid. That parallel makes the universe of this movie make more sense, because I was confused as to why everyone looked the same. Aside from like, I wasn't completely confused. I knew like the metaphor isn't that discreet. It's like, everyone's the same. Like, it's pretty, it's pretty on the nose. But at the same time, I was stuck on why, and being stuck on the why is interesting because there's a quote there's a moment where Michael tells, I don't know who he says this to. I think he says this to Lisa, where he says sometimes there's no lesson, and like that's the lesson in of itself. And like I think I've said that in like the other part we were talking about. I think Portrait Lady on Fire, where I love when like a movie utilizes like something very simple as like a dialogue about something that has nothing to do with the core premise, but literally wraps up the theme. Because I feel like that was the theme of the movie in some ways, where it's like we were talking about pre-production. I was trying to find like the why, and I feel like the why isn't really a point, and there probably isn't a why, and that's the like point of it all. And that's wild that I said all of that like I'm finishing the podcast or something, but no, we still have more to talk about it.
Yeah.
But like that's just like something I was thinking about, where like that quote was pretty, like that's one of the better quotes in the movie, where it kind of just puts it all into like a box. And it also speaks to me for like movies that people often get in arguments about, saying that it's like pointless, or it's what is the point of this, and like there's always like trying to search for that point when like sometimes there is no point, or even if it isn't a point, there isn't a point where it has to be applied to it. The movie, the story can just be the story. Granted, that's not true for everything. There needs to be at least some, objectivity to the subjectivity. But I feel like with this movie, it kind of aligns with what Michael said. What Michael said about whatever Lisa was talking about. I think it was Lisa. He said this too. I think she asked what the lesson was.
Yeah. That also came, if I'm remembering like the right scene from when he's saying that, he then starts to nitpick things about her after being like, I'm leaving my wife for you, and she's like, oh,
Oh, yeah, yep,
okay.
that's exactly the scene. 'Cause
Yeah.
I think she says that, like, he should tell his son because it's just so this is kind of funny, though. Just so he knows it's not... yeah, just because it's know that it's not his... it's not his fault. He's like, oh, no, he's part of it. And she's like, something about, like, there's, like, a lesson in it or something. Like, sometimes there is no lesson. Yeah. I laughed a little too hard at that point, and I felt bad.
No, I did too. But what I was gonna say is to like along those lines, I think it's more so about showcasing what it feels like to be in that kind of like mental state, I guess, of like everything is like the same, everything's mundane, you're like annoyed with everything. Also like the fact that it's somewhat of a not necessarily slow pace, but like you go through with his every action of like going to get the ice and his interactions in the car with the taxi driver, and then the guy showing him his hotel room. And I think that also the pacing of that paired in with like the muted colors, like the muted color palette of it all, I think I think it did a really good job showcasing what it's like to kind of be in that headspace. And I know that for me, like with this second go around, like when I first watched this, I was in high school and I was like, sad. And now like watching it again after like realizing that I have been suffering with anxiety, like really, for a very long time, and like getting on medication, and then like I feel like for the past 3 years I was in that headspace that like Michael was in or is in, but I didn't realize it. And then it wasn't until I started to take my meds that I was like, oh.
Isn't that shit fucking amazing sometimes though? That
yeah.
like
Me with
physically
meditation,
changing.
literally.
Yeah. So like the whole Lisa moment where he like is meeting this Lisa, I feel like I got that, but not with a person, but with art. I'm like, oh shit, right, I enjoy art. I forgot for 3 years that I like art.
And I will say to anyone listening, like, this is not a like, personally, I know I have been in the big up and downs with mental health, like, as is life, and you see that in that moment of, like, the double voice thing where he starts to lose interest and, like, kind of, like, convene in himself and be, like, festering, and I'm just like, bro, like, I don't know, like, be a person. Like, I understand... and I know that might be part of my frustration of, like, I watched myself do that, but I'm like, I don't know. I did that in high school. So I feel lucky in that sense of, like, definitely having access to things that a lot of people don't, like, with having insurance, etc. It's like, yeah, I'm lucky I get to have therapy, I get to have medication, but also, like, you're a grown man with a career and, like, a child, etc., multiple affairs, apparently. Like, can you not find some joy a little bit in, like, anything?
Or at least not
just
be a dick.
Yeah, like, I don't know. Also him, like, being like, I don't know how to ask in front of your friend. I'm sorry, this is probably embarrassing for you. I want a bone. Like, I'm just like, you say it in your little quirky accent and everyone's like, what did you say? His words, they're just so fancy. I'm like, he's just from Europe. I don't know. Like, I don't...
I think that it aids the stop motion aids that idea, as in he's kind of a puppet in the whole game of his depression, and that's kind of why it's from his perspective. And when we see that at the very end when she's writing that letter, we hear her in her original voice rather than what she evolved into once he became over her, because she does have that voice in a society that isn't focused on him, which I've developed all of this after talking to all of you about it, that he's just a shit narcissist, and it makes me like the movie even less than I already did, which Maddie talked about, how a lot of things just kind of feel underdeveloped, like these serious things, which maybe it's not really to negate on the plot rather than just the character himself and my dislike for him. But I think it just the stop motion with the whole puppet kind of metaphor really aids the vehicle of he's moving through this life of his while being controlled by something greater, not like God or anything, but he's being controlled by his depression, really.
Yeah, because I mean, shout out to religion, but also like your brain is powering the rest of it. So sometimes like the depression is the God in that sense of like being the little puppet master, where you're like, I really want to get out of bed, and depression's like, yeah, but you fucking suck, don't go anywhere. And you're like, ah, shit, all right, cool, guess this is where we're at.
Guess I'm just gonna lay here shaking for an hour.
Sometimes it be like that. And
I love pacing back and forth in my room for hours. It's my favorite thing ever.
Big vibes.
I was like, I don't know if we're all vibing to this, but I feel like we're all vibing a little too hard to just be like, ah, yes. Depression.
I love oversleeping. But like, I was gonna say, like, I think through this, I kind of got to a point where I think about how the interaction or the like relationship of Bella and Lisa, I feel like he also actually says this though. See, the thing is, like, Owen, I feel you and like your criticism on this film too, and like I got out of it not really not indifferent, but I felt like it was good, but I have some criticisms. But the more I like kind of take off the layers, I kind of like it a little bit more. Like, 'cause I think about, like, he kind of says his point to Bella where he says that he keeps running, and I feel like the sameness of everyone and Lisa kind of like teetering that line of becoming that person and then not. I think it's because I feel like people people are the same to him because it's because he's like he has to face he has to turn himself inward, and I feel like he keeps running from doing that. And once he finds someone that's different and he can like project whatever desires or like insecurities or little tics that he has, like, you know, the whole eating the
fork against your
thing.
teeth. Yeah,
that shit was so annoying. Like, him being annoyed by that annoyed me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think that moment was crucial because he started to see, not necessarily the way I'm seeing it, it's not necessarily like what the faults were in her, but more because she had faults up until then. It was more so the faults in himself. He was watching himself be such a fucking prick that she was going to start becoming this like same person.
He's
because
seeing
I think
the light reflecting. Jesus, damn, dude. What? I was like, why does he keep why is it flashing in his face as she's doing this? Oh my god, the visual metaphor, bruh.
Because I think about his interactions with, like, specifically like the taxi driver. How
now I like it more. Wow.
How like the taxi driver, like, he was being like a dick to the taxi driver straight up for no reason. Like, granted, the taxi driver was like buggy and like, yo, like, everyone has had an Uber or Lyft driver who was like asking mad questions, but like these are questions that were like, they're not even questions, just like conversations where it's like, yeah, you know, you're in a new city, bong bong bong, who hears these new things, and he was being like mad dismissive and kind of like an asshole about it, and like that interaction was weird. And just like how Naeli said about like sitting in that mundanity with his life, like that sequence happened, like it was for like a long time. Like, we were in that taxi car with him for a minute. We felt the awkwardness. And yeah, even though like it was more like a very flash of like an interaction with someone, but I think that was like reminiscent of his interpersonal relationships. Like,
I will ask really quick, do y'all think we're supposed to like him or not?
No, I don't think so.
I think the thing is, I feel like that question troubles a lot of people because we always think that's the thing that we like get hung up on sometimes, that we think that we're supposed to like the protagonist, when that's not always the case. The protagonist is just the person we're following.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
but
like can you show sympathy to him is what more so what I'm asking is like, is he redeemable because like he acknowledges his faults even if he doesn't work on them whatsoever. I mean, he comes home and is like, maybe this is no good. And his wife's like, fuck you. Like, immediately, like, bro, not again. And it's like, oh, this has happened before. This is a pattern. You bought your child a sex toy. Like,
I think it's hard to sympathize with him because of certain things that, like, I think it all depends on whoever's watching it. In some ways, I feel like it's a gradual process of, like, of dealing with, like, depression in a way that, like, is sympathetic, because there's, like, the way it waxes and wanes with him, and how, like, even the way that it's structured, you know, physically, we go back to the animation and the character design with the people, like, it starts to fuck with you too. Like, I started getting kind of irritated with how everyone looked, and also how everyone was talking. Like, everyone talked very, like, robotically. It was like, thank you, Mr. Scott, or Mr. Stone. Have you had a good day, Mr. Stone? Like, it was very, like, it's like small talk that kind of is irritating to me. I know that for sure. Mm-hmm. So, like, I thought, like, in some ways, I'm like, yeah, I feel him in certain ways, but Lisa showed me, like, that I didn't feel sympathetic. I felt sympathetic for Lisa, if anything. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I felt a little bad that, like, she kind of left that situation thinking that love will come back again, like, at least from him. And I wanted her to have the reaction that Bella had, where she opened her letter with "fuck you, fuck you, fuck you," and I'm like, let's get it. Like, that's how you respond to someone that played you. So,
I also wanted to know, because I had the thought when she's like, oh, and he goes, I miss you, and she's like, oh, your postcard must have gotten lost in the mail. I'm like, how recent was that letter? Because, like, she very obviously was stewing on it, and, like, hadn't seen him in years.
It says he reads out, or she reads it, I guess, when he's on the plane, the dates. It's like 1999 or something, or 98.
Oh, okay. I didn't catch that, but I was just thinking about, like, the thing of, I know personally, like, that when relationships end and you realize you're never going to get any closure, there can be a lot of, like, anger with that, because it's kind of like the person has sort of forced you to move on, in that sense of you don't get that closure, so you have to find closure with yourself. And I know, like, people can feel differently about it, but, like, that's why I'm a big believer in forgiveness, because, like, sitting with that anger fucking sucks. Like, it's just kind of like, where does it go? Because you can't... So putting it in a letter, like, great way, because it feels like you're physically sending it off. But, like, she writes to him very, like, in love, and very much so, like, haha, it just wasn't our time. And I'm like, oh, sweetie, you're, like, a whole ass person. Like, you're fine. You're gonna be okay. Like, I know, not being touched for 8 years makes you feel invalid, I guess, but, like, I'm sorry, you all do the, like, that sounded really harsh, and that was not meant to be harsh. That was me doing the, like, little projecty thing of, like...
No, I knew what you meant, but just hearing it out, I was like, damn.
When your therapist psychoanalyzes you sleeping with stuffed animals, and it's like, were you hugged as a child? It's like, no, but fuck off. Like, I
don't... Why can't the stuffed animals just be cute?
I know. I'm like, yo, like, come down. Like...
So I kind of just want, like, a little Bulbasaur to sleep.
Maybe I just want a rainbow cloud, like, under my arm while I sleep. I'm looking at the, like, IKEA rainbow cloud that's on my bed right now. No, but I will say, I feel like the circling back to closing the movie with a letter that is being written to him after opening it with him reading the letter, I was kind of like, okay, that felt like good closure, because I don't know about y'all, I felt like the story didn't really end. Like, it was just very, like, it opened, he's getting off a plane, and it ended, like, there was a fight at that party. Like, I don't know, like, it was just kind of...
He's staring at that toy.
I felt like it ended, but...
Me too?
I feel like it ended because, going off the point I made about him running from himself, I feel like the end was him sitting in that, and, like, that's why like, in the toy itself, granted, which I thought was really weird. I
have thoughts on that.
Yeah, you know, yeah. And how his dumbass his dumb ass didn't understand what like my man said in the taxi where he said toy store. Like I was watching it with captions, and because you know that's caption vibes.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it had toy in quotations, and he enunciated toy. He's like, oh, you mean a toy store? And he was like, yeah, a toy store. I'm like, no, did you not listen to the way he said that? Like, come on, you're an adult man. You don't know what a toy store is? Anyway, but yeah, I feel like it ended because of like he kind of just repeated what just happened in the beginning. He made Lisa a Bella, basically. It was like, I saw like refuge in you from like the sameness of the world and like this monotony, and I left once I saw a glimmer of you being similar to everyone, or like in this kind of fantasy way, like literally becoming a copy of a copy. And I dipped, and now I'm back home realizing low key why I dipped and why everything is happening. And I think I feel like in a way, even though I can't really say this in good faith because of the fact that you don't see what happened before the beginning, but like in my mind I'm thinking like he is now choosing, and I'm not trying to redeem him at all, but like he is now choosing to just sit in it, because like the party still goes on with his outburst, or not outburst, his argument with his wife, his kid goes outside, everyone moves on, but he has to sit in that. And like the toy, I think, is also like it's not a token. Ugh. It's like it's a symbol in a sense of the time he had in Cincinnati, I guess. But that's like kind of like reaching. But I'm just saying like that was part of it. That was part of the Cincinnati thing, was getting that toy. And also the toy's voice is different. The toy's voice it doesn't have that same voice. And I know hearing that probably felt good. So he got to listen to it for a little bit.
That's why it stood out to him when he got it.
Yeah, aside from how freaking weird it is. And he told he told his son when his son left out, he's like, I'm gonna listen to it play all the way to the end. And I think in some ways it kind of is like he's like taking the point of sitting in that like self reflection of how shitty he is, but also finding his way, or not finding his way, but like putting himself back into that monotony again by sitting down on the staircase, listening to the music, and then till it ends. And then once it ends, he's back into the swing of things. So that's how I saw that it ended. But to everyone listening, I have a little bit of advantage because I literally just finished watching it before we started recording this. So like my mind's still fresh, so the gears still turning. I could be wrong on everything.
No, that's very interesting. That's actually something that I missed. I didn't realize that the voice of the toy was different. I think that was just... Sorry, let me...
Okay.
Wait, let me finish this one bit. Sorry. But I think part of the reason that I might not have noticed that is maybe just me being angry of, like, this white man picking this, like, geisha, air quotes, like... toy thing, and like just being like, oh, it's cool because it's different, you know. I don't know. Maddie.
Okay, I have two comments. One, it was the same voice actor. He's just singing in Japanese. Like,
really? It doesn't sound like it. Oh.
He's doing an accent. Like the thing of like he's singing in a different language.
Right. Because I thought of that too. I was wondering if he was doing it too. But to me, it sounded like someone else. So that's why I was
definitely.
Like, oh,
I mean, like I think as soon as you put something in a different language, even if it is the same person saying it, it doesn't have that same tone because there is a different inflection between Japanese and English. But also, I will say, like, not to give him any credit, he was very drunk when walking into that sex toy shop, and like went, this isn't a penis. I don't want to give my child a penis, so, like, I think the process was kind of the thing of, like, this doesn't inherently look like a sex toy. Also, I have money. I don't know. Like, I don't know if it was that deep because he was, like, very drunk. I mean, he walks in and, like, plays with the dildo and he's like, this isn't a toy store, and it's like, no, sir, what the fuck did I had to buzz you in? Like, what do you think this is? Like,
yeah, I low-key think he didn't like buy it for his son anyway.
no.
Yeah.
I feel like he just bought it, and then like when he had to go home, he's like, oh shit, he gonna be talking about what you buy me. So I would also like to say this has something to do with this, but not. The voice in some parts of the movie gets kind of creepy. Like when he voices the kid, like I understood it because that's how kids talk. They talk in like straight bursts.
Mm-hmm.
But hearing it from like the like monotone grown man voice scared the shit out of me a little bit. He was like,
Daddy, did you
"Hi,
get me
Daddy.
something?" I was like,
Daddy, I'm a pirate. I don't want it."
On the
I was
phone,
like, Yo.
it's like too early to like know that it's the same person, kind of.
Yeah,
So I was
yeah,
like,
it's way
what
too
is
early
going
in the
on
movie.
right now?
I was like, are they role playing on the phone? Like, let me talk to my son. And she's like, wait a minute, hold on just a sec. Hi, Daddy, I'm a pirate.
okay, I really thought, like, the way he said it in the very monotone, what is his name? Little tiny gay man being like, Daddy, watch me twirl, like that.
Oh,
that video.
Lindsay, I think Lindsay Jones.
Yeah, I just,
The God.
the way he said it just all in one voice, but you can hear, like, the child wants attention. Like, the very monotone, but, like, I don't know. Speaking of children.
Mom? What are you doing here in the middle of the night?
You're just in time for supper, dear.
You're not my mother. My mother doesn't have...
Buttons? Do you like them? I'm your other mother, silly. Now go tell your other father that supper's ready.
So I would say personally, after we've had this conversation, in the reverse, Coraline very much so takes going in the mundane and being like very whimsical in this other world. Like for everyone who has not seen Coraline, obviously spoilers ahead, but like the premise of the movie is that this girl and her parents like are uprooted from Michigan to presumably Oregon to like, what is it, mulch? They write about mulch or just gardening, like
Gardening.
the parents.
I think they write from Mulch Monthly.
Okay, Mulch Monthly. I just remember it was alliteration, and I was like, damn, how'd you make that alliteration? But they write for a gardening magazine, and so they're very busy in doing that and ignoring their child, and she's like, I don't know about this kid, and like tries to like talk to the neighbors, etc., and is very like seeking of attention in that sense of like, you are new child with no friends in a new place. The only people you immediately know are your parents, and they're busy, and your neighbors are kind of weird, and there's some kid that you're like, are you stalking me? And he's like, yeah, I found this doll that looks like you. And she's like, what the fuck? Okay. And then just carries the doll with her everywhere. I'm like, you're not going to question that at all. That's kid logic right there. You're like, yeah, I'm 10. This doll looks exactly like me. Not creepy at all. Like...
So since we're on the of course we're on the topic of Coraline. Coraline, of course, came out in 2009, I believe.
Yes.
And is directed by Henry Selick and is based on the book by Neil Gaiman. And this is one of the picks that Niley chose for this week. Niley, do you want to talk about like why you chose Coraline specifically?
Yeah, it's pretty much, it's one of my favorite movies. I was trying to figure out like what are things that, because I haven't really like programmed anything yet, and I was like, what are things that interest me that I would like to talk about? And like stop motion was a thing, and then I was like, oh, ANOMALISA. But I just love this movie for like both visually and story wise. And to finish what Maddie was saying, so basically Coraline, moves to this new place, sad because not getting attention from parents, and being in a new place with no friends, and then ends up in this like other world with a new set of parents or an environment called like the other mother or the other dad, And you see this like stark difference of like when she's in the real world, everything is like very gray and mundane, but then when very flat, and then when she enters into the other world, everything is beautiful and colorful, and the other mother is so nice to her and like giving her all of this attention. And it becomes kind of this thing where you realize that it's this witch trying to entice this child to eat it, and then Coraline needs to figure out how to get away from her grasp and save herself and her parents.
Yeah. I will say really quick comment for anyone who doesn't know, because I feel like Tracy has definitely known this. The creator of Laika is from Portland, and so it's big Oregon vibes.
Very big Oregon vibes. My favorite was adding the little Shakespeare festival like tidbit in there. I was like, ooh, I've gone to see that.
Nerd. Yeah, so anyways.
Yo, shout out to Maddie, part of the California Coalition here. I ain't never heard of that before. So
The only reason
nerds.
I knew about it because of Anna's boyfriend, who is not from Oregon, but had every time we pass by where it happens, it's like, I went to that. I'm like, I know, Andrew, every time.
It's the biggest, oh shoot, oh, what's it called? Oh, oh no, I'm a bad theater person. Oh no.
Quick, or the theater
card revoked. Theater card revoked.
You're gonna lose your theater kid powers.
No. It's, first of all, it's like the biggest Shakespeare festival on the West Coast, and it is like one of the biggest, I don't know what the term for it is, but I want to say rotary or rotation. Basically, they like perform the same show for like 9 months, which is different than other theaters. Yes. Wait, what did you just say, Tracy? Repertory.
Repertory, that's what I meant.
Yes. Yes, that. Okay, maybe we should stop talking about theater now.
Why did you know you would go longer?
Well, actually, no. Like, speaking about theater and why really.
Anyways,
No, but like, so like, okay. Part of the reason why I really like.
No, wait. I said wait because you're gonna go longer, and you said no. Anyway, speaking about theater.
No, I found a way to make it click. I found a way. Part of what like really appeals to me about Coraline and stop motion in general, like with like how I was talking about earlier about world building and like just coming up with these worlds, and that's what I really like about Coraline, because it's so whimsical and so like also just like seeing that difference of the real world and then the other world, and the use of colors, like again, like I was saying like before we started recording about the blue, the main color palette of blues, yellow and orange, which is like some of my favorite color pairings, which I think has to do with this movie, honestly. But especially just the blue. Like, the blue is beautiful to me. It's because when we usually, for like magical or whimsical things, purple is kind of like the go-to. And I think that's boring. I mean, actually, like, personally, purple, I'm not a big fan of purple. I have a beef with purple, TBH. I'm not the biggest purple fan.
Whoa.
Why?
See, you're going to lose all our purple loving listeners off of that. Yes. What are you doing?
Hello.
Why? Look, I know it's a controversial opinion, okay? I know. A lot of people like purple. I just personally, not super into it. Always been...
All right, you guys, that was the Fifth Avenue podcast.
I have a newfound love for blue as of late, but I have always been like a green and orange person. Now I'm very much a blue and orange person. You would know this if you saw me in real life or saw my art. Anyways, the point is, sorry, what?
I was gonna say, and your current nails are blue. That was just an observation.
Yeah, love me some blue. But the point is, the colors, the design, beautiful, amazing, fantastic. Love it so much. It's just, and like, I've watched the movie so many times, and like, as I was saying, I'm not big into like horror or like scary movies. But even as a kid, when I first watched this, I was like, yes, this forever. I'm gonna keep watching it.
Something I really liked as far as the use of color is when the other world falls apart, it's just white. Like, there's nothing. There's an absence of color in all the stuff that, like, the Beldam doesn't create, or, like, the other mother is, like, no longer sees fit. Like, whenever she finds the eyes, everything just kind of dissolves and then is just dead. Like, there's nothing, like, even less than there is in the, like, actual world. So it's like, I don't know. I always thought that was interesting. I also have to say, a trope that I think of when I look at Coraline as a character design is the whole anime protagonist with the bright colored hair, where it's like 100% not the natural hair, and it's like, I'm sorry, you've given birth to a protagonist. Like, you know, like, she's like 10. She's not dyeing her hair, but like, it's definitely that stark bright blue and bright yellow raincoat where I'm like, yeah, I would like to look like this. I mean, I also watched this at like age 10, being like, dye my hair, please. And I was like, only the tips with Kool-Aid, at least while that is all I have access to. So, I don't know. Like, the bright colors, I feel like she kind of stays bright throughout. Also, shout out to Wybie for, like, having that sick-ass skeleton jacket, which I always want to recreate, because I'm just like, oh, it's a fucking vibe. Like, I don't know, like...
Wybie had, like, weird boy drip. Like, he had, like, a coat. He had the helmet thing with the green, like, the, I guess, like, are, like, night vision goggles. I don't know why. I still want to know the reason behind it, but other than, like, for, like, the flex.
It was just a flex.
So, yeah. And I think there's probably somewhere written about Coraline's hair, and it's, like, how it pertains to who she is and who everyone else around her is. Given that she's, like, somehow a bridge to the other world, because she's the only one that ever got to go, aside from the cat. Cat's an anomaly for dudes, but yeah, like, I think there's, like, something in that, in the hair, what it means to the grander story of it all.
I think it could also be kind of a connection with how, you know, there's a lot of sayings, I guess, of like children or like animals are able to sense things that adults can't. And how Coraline is able to, like, sees this other world, and then when she tells her mom, she's like, cool dream. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's like, I don't really care about all that, bro.
I will say, I think the trope of not listening to what kids are actually saying plays out really well in this, because kids have active imaginations, but she's got way too many specific fucking details where you're like, how'd you come up with that? Like, no offense to people and brains, but I'm like, I don't know. I mean, the mom being like, if I open this door, will you leave me alone? And she's like, yeah, and then it's bricks, and it's like, well, I opened the door, I held up my end of the bargain, and I'm like, bro, I get it, you have to write about mulch, but, like, that's a little disappointing. No, you're not intrigued as to, like, the fucking, you cut open the wall. Like, I don't know, like, you're not a little excited to see, like, at all. Like,
But Maddie, the mulch is calling.
But she doesn't like
mulch.
dirt. I hate that so much. I'm like, I don't know. This might be me being, like, me, and I see a plant, and I'm like, a child. Pets are the new plants are the new pets. Pets are the new children. But I don't know. Like, dirt is great. I don't know how the fuck you can not like dirt. Like, it's just the world.
It's just the world.
I don't know. Side tangent.
Like,
shout out to dirt. Like,
I was gonna say, I feel like this was going somewhere.
Well, to bring it back, you know, like I said, beautiful world building. But that is not to say, you can't do that in anything else or like 2D animation, and you totally can. But I think it was such a smart decision to have this story be specifically stop motion because of its more, I guess, scarier themes. Because I feel like using stop animation like enhanced that eeriness and that like, especially with like the other mother with the button eyes. I feel like being able to see the physicality of those button eyes is so much more intense than if it was like a 2D other mother with button eyes,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if anything, it would look more like just more cartoony. It felt more real. Like I attribute a lot of like the intentionality behind using stop motion is in a way to like, I don't know, like add more like to me the movie kind of looked like a picture book in a way where like in picture books are kind of like the pop-up books. That's what I mean when I say picture book. It's still 2D but it's 3D in a way. It pops up out of like the flat surface next to 2D words, and I feel like that's what I feel like that's kind of like the aesthetic of this movie in a way. It's kind of picture booky. It's very, very gothic, and it's all about, and like a lot of the movement is like the movement of it, like Naila was talking about, is very important. Like when it's like revealed, spoiler, that the other mother is a witch trying to, harvest the souls of children. Which when you say it like that, you're like, damn, that is kind of wild for a kid's movie. Her like whole, like the way her body is contorted into like this kind of spider, springly figure is, I don't know, it wouldn't hit that hard if it was like hand drawn. Like it hits a little harder when it's like in stop motion because it's 3D enough for you to feel that discomfort of seeing that like happen on screen.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one of like, I remember reading in the Roger Ebert review because he wrote a whole paragraph about how much he hated it, but it released in 3D, which was like huge at that time for kids to go see a movie in 3D, which I totally forgot about for some reason that was a thing, like the glasses and going to, because my mom never did it. She was like motion sickness. She doesn't want to go, but that was the huge thing. And this girl in my class was like, my favorite movie is Coraline. She sat next to me and all she would talk about is that. And I'm like, what is that? And then I told my parents to rent it. And then I was scared shitless in 3rd grade. But I thought that was really funny to think that was a huge 3D movie. I can see where that comes from. And it's not a super effective thing because obviously it came and went. But the 3D visuals in Coraline are so profound, even though it's 2-dimensional. Like, especially going to the museum and seeing this stuff, it's like, oh my god. The size of everything is crazy.
I will say, I know we didn't talk about Kubo and the Two Strings, but shout out to that fucking evil monster in that thing that was like the...
20 feet tall.
Yeah.
It was insane.
Yeah.
So one of like the... I think for a lot of people, one of the like takeaways from the movie is like, wow, Coraline's parents were terrible. And it's very easy to feel that way when you see how Coraline's mother talks to her, very snidely, very just very mean. And like the dad is more so just neglectful, even though he tries. Maddie noted that in both versions, he tries his best.
He tries his best.
In whichever way that that turns out. And there was this quote that I read, surprisingly enough, from the Tumblr, the official Tumblr of the author of the book, Neil Gaiman, where someone asked him, what was the and this is like, I'm quoted, what was the point of the story Coraline? Because the first time I ever saw it, it was a DVD birthday gift from my mother, given with the description, I saw this movie and thought of you, because the little girl in the movie is an ungrateful daughter like you are. I haven't been able to watch it more than once since then, and I keep finding mixed interpretations. So, in response, Neil Gaiman said, the point of it was to write a story for my daughters, to tell them that being brave didn't mean that you weren't scared. It meant that you were scared, but you did the right thing anyway. That people who give you lots of attention sometimes do not have your best interests at heart, while people who give you less attention than you would like may still love you. That it is a good thing to save your family from darkness, and that you have to forgive your dad if he's writing things and can't always stop to play with you. I've not noticed any ungrateful daughters either in the book or in the film. I suspect your mother may be inclined to see them where they do not exist. And I think that kind of, well, I mean, it's from the author, obviously from the horse's mouth, but like kind of defines the relationship of the parents in the story, which Coraline, I think, Coraline meets that point when her parents are gone, and she creates pillow parents to sleep with, for a second.
I am not gonna lie, I saw that shit and I was like, oh, I don't remember it being this sad. Like, I was just kind of like sucking in the tears, like being like, no, like, we're not gonna cry. But that's a good point, Tracy. Like, just in the sense of, that's not something a child who is ungrateful for the love of a family would do. Like, I also feel like this might be personal, I don't know, but it's really hard to tell a child they're ungrateful. You're so new to the world, you don't know how to be grateful for things yet. Like, legitimately, when you don't have a sense of how money functions and how, like, parents have to do things or caregivers have to, like, have a job or not have the time to always, like, be satisfying the attention that a child may seek. Like, they're just not aware of that yet because you haven't been around long enough to know that. Like, that's that whole thing of children being forced to grow up quicker, is like a lot of the times when parents aren't present, it's like, yeah, you learn quicker because you have to be the parent. So Coraline is definitely a kid in this situation, and that's probably for the best that, like, she can convince her parents to go plant all the tulips, and then they can all have a grand old time with the wackadoo neighbors.
Anyways, yeah, I mean, Coraline has impacted me and impacted a lot of people, like, greatly, and I think that's it's actually very interesting to hear y'all's perspective on it, as something that since it's a movie that I really love and have loved for a very long time. And I just wish there was more stop motion. Like, Coraline is obviously from Leica, and Leica specializes in that, and it's also just very cool that it's in Leica is from Oregon, and we're in Oregon, but there aren't a lot of other stop motion production companies, and I really wish there was more, and more diversity in that medium, because it's such a cool medium. Like, there's so much that you can do and so much that you can convey with it that you can't really with live action or 2D or CGI, like a lot of the latest like Disney movies, how like Disney stepped away from like regular 2D animation, which is also kind of sad. So yeah, I mean, I hope that y'all enjoy these stop motion movies.
You got the quiver in your voice, like, if y'all don't enjoy it, I'm gonna be kind of sad. Like,
I just love it because I think it's like it's such a beautiful art form, because like film in and of itself.
Yep.
Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Film
Yes.
in and of itself is like a really amazing culmination of so many different artistic fields, but then stop motion kind of like amplifies that, I think. Like, adds like another layer to all of the creative fields that that go into a movie, and I freaking love that. Like, as somebody who has like dabbled in various arts and entertainment fields, like that's what I feel like that's what draws me so much to it, that it's like, whoa, like it's all of these things. It's not just photography, or it's not just painting, it's not just sculpture, like it's not just writing, right? Like, it's a story too, and it's a really good story, Coraline. And yeah, I'm like hyped. I'm like, oh, I love this movie so much. Stop motion. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Get excited.
Perfect way to end this. All right. Thank you, Nayeli, for that. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Fifth Avenue Podcast, where we come together to talk about all things cinema or cinema related. If you like the show today, please give us a follow on Instagram and Twitter at Fifth Avenue Cinema. That fifth is with a 5, where you can also reach us for questions or comments. You can also reach us by email at film@pdx.edu. We hope you enjoyed today's episode as much as we enjoyed making it. Have a good day. Black Lives Matter. Abolish the police. Right into Teresa Rayford. And step down Ted Wheeler. Peace.